You know, I've always had mixed emotions about Seiko. Some of them I really, really like, and some of them I really, really don't. But after today, after buying a certain something, I now am a Seiko fanboy. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always. And today we're talking about a watch that I literally just bought. And you might have noticed that within the Chisholm Hunter channel, we didn't actually review that many Seikos. Up until quite recently. We've started hammering home Seiko recently, and it's because I've got a newfound love for the brand. I just felt that I was always infatuated by Tissot, and I never really looked below the Tissot price bracket. Anything below £600, it's not that I ignored them, but it's just that because I had a Tissot already, I didn't really keep them at front of mind. And then because obviously I got a Grand Seiko as well, I just kind of forgot about Seiko. They weren't at the front of mind. They weren't a brand that I would go to, really. But then they released this. This, in my hands at the moment, is the new Seiko 5 38mm Peanuts edition. This is literally the first time I've opened it since I bought it from Chisholm Hunter. Take a look at that. I know that at the moment it's a bit of a diamond in the rough, so to speak, because of all the plastic on it and because of the protective layering, but that is stunning. Now, to me, watches they've always been about memories, about sentimental attachment, and finally, about community. Let's begin with the sentimental aspect of these watches. So whenever I buy a watch, whenever I'm even thinking of considering buying a watch, I try and equate it to a moment in time, something sentimental to me. For example, when I got the Omega Moonswatch, I related that to when I bought it in Zermatt. I had a big job at the time for me in Zermatt. It was the biggest videography and photography job I had at that moment in time. So it was a very special moment for me. So I wanted to relate that to a watch so that whenever I look at that watch, I'll remember that special moment in time. So that's a really special thing to me, and I'll get on to what this specific watch represents in a second, but let's talk about community for a second. I remember when I first got my Tudor Blancpain ETA, and I had it on the fabric NATO strap, which has quite recently been discontinued, actually. And I was on the train back from Edinburgh. I was working in the Chisholm Hunter store in Edinburgh. And somebody came up and sat beside me and said, "Oh, do you have a Tudor Blancpain on? Is that the ETA version?" We got talking and he became a good friend. And that sense of community is something that's so valuable within the industry. And it is what these watches allow you to get into. The Seiko community is something that is incredible to me. They have the most loyal, diehard fans that I've ever seen. And it's something that I want to be a part of. But what does this watch mean to me? And why did I buy this specific model? Let's begin with the sentimental aspect. Last year, I was working a load abroad. I think it was 8 months I was away, Drew? Just about, yeah. Just about 8 months I was away doing videography and photography, travel videography and photography. And my goal was to work with Canon. I thought that if I make it in photography and videography, I'll be hired by Canon, and I would have, that's my career. I've done it. I've got it. And I ended up working for Canon in January of this year. And after I worked for Canon, I thought, I'm not sure this is what I want to do. I always saw photography and videography as a hobby, as something that I really enjoyed, but it was getting too serious. It was becoming a job, whereas it never felt like that before. So I pivoted within my career and wanted to focus more on Chisholm Hunter, on the Into the Mind podcast, on the members-only VIP club on the Chisholm Hunter channel, and all that kind of stuff. So that pivot in my career, I wanted to celebrate working for Canon, hitting that milestone, but also celebrate the fact that I'm going to be more involved within this channel and talking to you guys. And that's kind of why I got this watch, because it will always represent that moment in time. Now, I'm not saying that I lost my passion for photography and videography. It will always remain what I love to do, but I've just pivoted within my career, within the space that I'm in. And this watch very much represents that. And actually, the reason that I've bought it is partially down to my videography and photography. It's partially down to the fact that I need to be prepared when I'm climbing these hills or doing these Monroes or whatever it is I'm doing. And the specs very much feed into that. So it comes in at 38mm, which is perfect for that hiking type watch. You don't want something too big, too chunky, that's going to take up a lot of space in your wrist. You want to kind of put it on and forget about it and not worry that it's there. It also has a NATO strap, which is in this beautiful grey colour with a white line down the centre. Now, yes, the white might get a little bit dirty, but that's not something I'm really concerned about. I'm more happy with the fact that it doesn't have a bracelet on it, because if it had a bracelet, I'd be really nervous about scratching it when I'm out and about. So the NATO strap to me is pretty perfect. And then you get down to the detail. You get down to the limited edition touches, which are just absolutely brilliant. For example, the font on the bezel is related to the magazine that Peanuts is featured in. And then you also have the blue date window. So the Saturday comes in this light blue color, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see that on the other models of the 38mm. And then you obviously have Peanuts surfboard on the dial, giving it that extra depth. It's almost like a photo within itself. And it goes without saying that this has an in-house movement for 350 quid, which is pretty damn incredible. Now it obviously comes in stainless steel. It wears pretty amazingly on my wrist. There's things that I like about this watch. There's things that I don't. But as a package, coming in at 350 quid, it's pretty damn perfect. And then you get the fact that it's limited edition, which I love because it is quite unique. This isn't a review, and I don't want it to become a review because we've already reviewed this watch previously, but this is just why I personally invested and bought a Seiko and bought this watch. I want to be a part of that Seiko community. I love, and the more that I've researched, the more that I've begun to love the little tweaks, the little subtle details, the little changes that Seiko make on their watches. And the best thing about it is, it's not going to break the bank. If you buy a Rolex, they make a subtle color change. Everyone goes mental. But not everyone can buy it, because who can afford 5, 6, 7, 8 Rolexes? Whereas when it comes to Seiko, you can really have fun with your collection. Now, no watch in the industry is perfect. I need to say that because it's true. I don't think you're ever going to get a watch that you're fully happy with from start to finish, because there's always little tweaks, little changes that you would make. For example, this is probably a little bit too thick for my liking. It comes in at about 11.5 to 12 mil in thickness, and that double pass NATO strap lifts it off the wrist that little bit too much for my liking. But as a full package, you can't deny that it's undeniably awesome. To be honest, guys, I really shouldn't have bought this watch. And I know that sounds quite hypocritical because I just bought it, but hear me out. I just booked flights to Sri Lanka with a special someone. I also am saving up for a flat in the West End. I'm getting to that age now where I'm saving up a deposit for a flat. I shouldn't be spending money like this, but in my years of doing this, and we're approaching 2 years, it's very few and far between. The watches are very few and far between that make me stop. They make me think. They make me consider buying them. And this watch to me represents fun. It represents something new, something fresh, something Seiko. And that's kind of where I am in my life. On reflection of my watch journey so far, and that's what I tend to do when I get a new watch, is reflect on the past of my watch collection. I think I've really changed as a watch collector. I think that it started off being fun. It started off a bit like photography and videography did, as a hobby, being fun, and then it got quite serious quite fast. Over the 4, 5, 6 years, it got very serious. It got very black and white instead of shades of grey. And I think that bringing it back to my roots, where it all began, having fun with watches, is how it should be. And that's kind of what's happened in my videography and photography. It got too serious. And then I brought it back and started just having fun with it again, and all of a sudden, I enjoy it again. So this watch very much represents reflection, looking back at the start of my journey, and just having fun with it. So if you're to leave this video with anything, please leave it on a positive note, to have fun with this hobby. That's how most of us start down this road of watch collecting. We have fun, and that's what it should be, and that's what it is. But I feel like it's getting too serious, especially in the comments on YouTube with all these trolls slating people for their decisions. Everyone has personal preference. Everyone has different styles. And everyone has fun in different ways. So for all the trolls out there, get a life. Everyone has different styles, reflections. Everyone likes different stuff. That's okay. And I don't think that people should be slated just because they like a certain thing. They should have fun and be allowed to do so.